What's good, y'all? It's the Demouchets REACT, and we're back with another video. Who we got today, C?
Today we're back with another American reaction. So excited about this video. If you're new to us
and we're new to you,
make sure you scroll down,
hit that subscribe button,
and turn on my post notification bell
because we're on the road to 200K.
And we cannot get there without you guys, alright? Join the family without further ado. Let's get into the video.
Let's get it.
Seems willing to take responsibility for their pain and suffering.
Welcome to Watch Mojo, and today we're looking at times when the nitty-gritty details of major events were even worse than you may recall.
Belgium had recently become an independent kingdom. Its ruler, Leopold II, wanted to acquire what he called a slice of this magnificent African cake.
Cannibalism during World War II.
War can turn men into monsters. Perhaps there's no better example of this than World War II.
While the Nazis may have gotten much of the attention, the Imperial Japanese Army committed numerous atrocities during World War II. Among the most horrifying were acts of cannibalism committed against civilians and POWs. Japanese historian Yuki Tanaka details dozens of cases where Japanese soldiers engaged in cannibalism. Often, these acts were driven by hunger, amid Allied attacks on supply lines. But that was not always the case. In the Chichichi incident of 1944, Japanese officers executed and consumed captured American airmen.
It's unknown how much food the Japanese soldiers had on the island, but many claim that they were by no means starving, as there were plenty of resources available.
One of their commanders, Lieutenant General Yoshio Tachibana, was later tried and executed along with some of his subordinates.
The Japanese government does not allow this part of Japanese history to be taught or discussed in public, as it's deemed too sensitive. Scholars who wish to publish information about the atrocities that happened during World War II have to leave Japan to do so.
The U.S. soldiers of the My Massacre.
Oh, wait, hold up. Came in a little hot.
A little.
Oh, but you know what?
What?
We have to own history.
Oh, I thought you was about to say when you're hungry.
No.
Okay.
We have to own history.
Yeah.
Yes, it was very, very bad. But that's what happened.
Mm-hmm.
Don't try to rewrite it.
No, don't. I agree. Don't sweep it under a rug either.
Let us know.
Sensitive? How sensitive? Like, what do they do? Like, what is their reason for? Not their reason, but like, what's their response to that? You know what I'm saying? It's like,
how do you respond to that?
I'm saying, like, do they get offended instantly and not want to? You know what I'm saying? Like, when they say sensitive.
Maybe it makes them look bad. So maybe that.
Let's leave it at that. Okay.
Task Force Barker moved out from its fire base headed for Pinkville. Its mission? Destroy the trouble spot and all of its inhabitants.
The My Massacre is one of the worst crimes in U.S. military history. Hundreds of unarmed Vietnamese civilians were brutalized and murdered by American soldiers in 1968.
Oh, snap.
Free for all. You can shoot anything you want, anything that moves, as long as he's not one of your own.
Warrant Officer Hugh Thompson Jr. and his crew saved as many Vietnamese civilians as they could. He ordered his crew to open fire on their fellow soldiers if they continued the slaughter, evacuating those he could and reporting the incident to his superiors. The U.S. government then attempted to cover up the event. Lieutenant William Calley Jr., the only man convicted, served just 3 years under house arrest after President Nixon reduced the length and severity of his sentence.
The population of the village had been 300 to 400 people, and that very few, if any,
House arrest.
Meanwhile, Thompson faced years of death threats. He carried the psychological scars of his heroism for the rest of his life.
I couldn't quite accept it. Somehow I just couldn't believe that not only had so many young American men participated in such an act of barbarism, but that their officers had ordered it.
The Partition of India.
August 1940.
House arrest.
Listen, when we asked our elders what they thought of the Vietnam War, they ain't got no good things to say. Child.
7. The British are quitting India nearly 200 years after they took power.
World War II led to the release of many colonial holdings by major powers. The most significant example is the 1947 partition of India. It was meant to bring peace. British India was spun off into a mostly Hindu India and mostly Muslim Pakistan.
As a British barrister draws a line on a map, a once peaceful land implodes.
Instead, it unleashed chaos. Critical boundaries were drawn by a British lawyer with little understanding of local complexities. This led to one of history's largest migrations. Around 15 million people fled across hastily drawn borders, often facing violent mobs, starvation, and disease.
At least 1 million die in the process.
It's a lot of people.
Huge mass of humanity just moving along, barefooted, no food, thirsty. It was a terrible sight.
Communal hatred exploded into massacres, sexual violence, and kidnappings. An estimated 1 to 2 million were killed. The scars remain visible today.
It was so senseless, so utterly senseless. And yet, nothing you could do about it.
The current India-Pakistan nuclear conflict makes their shared border one of the most dangerous flashpoints in the world. Paragraph 175. In the 1920s and early 1930s, Berlin was a beacon of gay progress.
Berlin has largely ignored paragraph 175, Germany's anti-sodomy law, enacted in 1871. But as long as the law existed, so did the threat of blackmail and prison.
Its thriving gay scene made Berlin the global capital of queer culture, full of gay bars and entertainment. But the rise of the Nazis shattered this haven. Gay people became prime targets for persecution, seen as symbols of the so-called public immorality eroding Germany.
Within a month, the Nazis ordered most of Berlin's homosexual and lesbian nightclubs, dance halls, and bars closed.
Paragraph 175. A law criminalizing intimate acts between men was weaponized by the Nazis. Over 100,000 men were arrested. Thousands were subsequently sent to concentration camps. Marked by pink triangles, many were tortured, experimented on, and killed.
The Nazis saw male homosexuality as a contagious disease that corrupted and weakened the blood of the German people.
Astonishingly, the post-war German government upheld paragraph 175. The statute was enforced in various forms for the next 50 years until it was removed from the German Criminal Code in 1994.
Wow, 50
in
years.
2017, Germany overturned paragraph 175 convictions from 1949 to 1969, a small step toward justice.
Friedrich's partner of 28 years, Bernd, died without seeing justice. He regrets not being able to share this milestone with the man he shared his life
Oh,
with.
he lived through it.
Government-backed terrorist radio in the Rwandan genocide. The 1994 Rwandan genocide is widely recognized for both its staggering.
Yeah, they got a
loss of
movie on this
life.
one now.
A couple
of
that we
them.
watched,
Yeah. See, the thing about it is, though, like when it comes to pen and paper, and you write all this stuff down, these history facts, it's a little more easier to do than to live through it. Because the people that actually live through all of this, from fact number one, like this is some wild stuff, some real wild stuff.
It is easier to read it and then live through it, because nowadays this new generation that we have coming up, they disrespect history so much, and they say what they would have did, what they should have did. They didn't do this right. You was not living then to say what they should have did. They survived.
2 million people that had to leave on feet.
Yeah.
Which I would have turned all 2 million of them around and say, y'all, let's fight. A big chunk of that crowd would have denied that. They said, we're going to just leave.
And the world's inaction. Up to 800,000 lives were snuffed out in about 100 days, and the world watched it happen.
The UN mission was not given a mandate to intervene and stop the killing.
A lesser-known yet undeniably horrifying aspect of the massacres was the role of state-sponsored media. Radio-Télévision Libre des Mille Collines, a radio station backed by the Hutu-led government, broadcast hate-filled propaganda. Day in and day out, radio, the primary source of mass communications, dehumanized the Tutsi minority by referring to them as, quote, cockroaches. DJs explicitly called for their extermination.
Neighbors killed neighbors, and some husbands even killed their Tutsi wives, saying they will be killed if they refused.
This orchestrated media campaign not only fueled the genocide, but also mobilized ordinary citizens to commit atrocities against their neighbors. Mass media was a propaganda tool deadlier than any gun or machete.
More than 1.2 million people were tried in local courts for their role in the genocide, and dozens of senior Hutu officials were convicted at a UN tribunal in neighboring Tanzania.
The Holodomor.
A new law punished anyone who took even a handful of grain or was caught hiding grain or bread with 10 years in prison or the death penalty.
You've heard about the war in Ukraine after the 2022 invasion. Maybe you even know about the Russian annexation of Ukrainian Crimea in 2014. But did you know about the disputed human-made famine during Soviet Ukraine in 1932? The Holodomor, or death by hunger, wasn't just a famine though. It's considered by many as an act of terror by Joseph Stalin's regime.
In the fall and winter of 1932, Soviet police began seizing not just grain, but anything edible. even livestock.
Soviet soldiers and officials confiscated Ukrainian grain. Worse, they banned trade and prohibited many villagers from leaving their homes.
The plan gave Stalin direct control over grain production, which meant he could extract all of the crop to sell to the West as a way to fund Soviet industrialization.
Millions of Ukrainians starved to death. To ensure the world wouldn't know, the Soviet government suppressed census data. They even executed statisticians who exposed the population collapse. This wasn't just mass starvation. It was a mass erasure, engineered to break the Ukrainian spirit and erase their identity. The Congo Free State and a savage Belgian...
Listen, some of this stuff is just too much.
Giving headaches.
It really, really is. That's why we pulled back for a long time of reacting to just history facts and things that has happened. This stuff is hard to listen to.
Yeah.
Back to back.
And it's hard to comment on too, y'all. So it's like, look, it's like golly.
King.
Whether in bustling cities or remote villages, the 1880s and 90s were years of terrifying upheaval in Africa.
Often overlooked by Western activists, the Democratic Republic of Congo remains one of the most dangerous places on Earth. This tragic fact is deeply rooted in its horrific colonial history. At the turn of the 20th century, the Congo was the personal property of King Leopold II of Belgium.
Belgium had recently become an independent kingdom. Its ruler, Leopold II, wanted to acquire what he called a slice of this magnificent African cake.
Well, how you get up there twice?
Ruled his massive, profitable state with unrelenting savagery. He turned the entire region into a nationwide labor camp. He forced millions into working in rubber and ivory extraction. Those who didn't meet quotas faced mutilation and or death, with entire villages wiped out. An estimated 10 million people perished during his reign of terror.
The regime dramatically upended daily life in agriculture, causing widespread starvation and disease. Meanwhile, King Leopold built monuments and private estates with the wealth he extracted.
While the Congo was eventually taken from him, the scars of his greed and inhumanity are permanently etched into the nation's soul.
In the space of just 20 years, 90% of Africa was brought under European occupation.
The suffering of the Hibakusha.
Then came something that would forever change perception of the bomb.
A common narrative in the West is that the nuclear attacks on Hiroshima and Nagasaki were necessary evils. Historians have debated that belief ever since. Very little discussion, though, is had about the Japanese citizens who survived the bombs. The atomic bombings claimed a combined death toll of nearly 250,000. For survivors, known as Hibakusha, the nightmare was only beginning. Beyond the searing trauma of lost loved ones and destroyed homes, they faced many health issues.
A mysterious illness began to spread. I noticed it from about the 4th day.
Survivors suffered decades of cancers and chronic illnesses caused by radiation exposure. Social ostracization compounded their suffering. Hibakusha were often shunned as tainted by other Japanese due to fears of contamination or illness. Many struggled to find work or marry, trapped by stigma.
American scientists had always known the bomb would produce radiation, but the scale of the after effects came as a shocking surprise.
The nuclear arms race.
Yeah, the scientists always know what's going to happen after it happens. That's the studies they give each other, like when in the labs with the little mice and stuff like that. Yeah, they do all these studies before they actually give it to the population, and they know what's going to happen. They just get out of the way before it happens.
My thing is, I understand this is as old as people, right?
Yeah.
But if you got a problem with this country, and I'm talking about the leaders, y'all fight.
Put them in the ring.
Leave everybody else out of it.
Box it out.
You know, and I know it is funny me saying that, but I'm so like.
No, that's a fact. Paper, rock, scissors, or something. Like it could all be so simple. But powers to be always had these like authorities in their brains, and they actually have over certain things, and it keeps them in that position to want to just make sure they don't lose it. You know, and my thing is like history is what it is. Like you learn it or you avoid it, thinking that it would never happen to you. And then what's crazy that like you have people that worry about the intangible stuff when history is what it is and will always be. So regardless of what type of times you're living in, what may not look like a moment in history to you now because it's not happening to you, it's still gonna be written down for somebody generation after generations later to read it and say, oh wow, I can't believe that happened. Yeah. And what they're gonna do, the same thing you did, try to avoid it and worry about something that's intangible, or try to look at history and try not to let that repeat itself. Right. You know, that's what it is.
And the more and more I learn different parts of world history, right? the more I understand why people view Americans in a negative way.
Yeah. But history is happening right there on the street, right there on the block.
Yeah.
Right 2 blocks down from your grandma's house. History is happening.
And not even Americans, America.
Yeah,
you know,
100%.
It just makes me feel some type of way. I don't know.
I think that at the end of the day, people have the right to notice it and add value to change the perspective or to make sure it's nothing like that happens again. Yeah. But the out of touchiness and the avoiding of history, facts, because the people don't want to feel in some type of way, keep them out of the loop, and they don't help change the narrative at all. They actually add problems to it by being silent. Yeah. I'm going to just say that. Yeah, silence is a problem too.
The Navajo Nation has paid a staggering price for America's nuclear ambitions. Between 1944 and 1989, uranium mining on Navajo land extracted over 30 million tons of ore. Neither private companies nor the federal government gave any regard to worker safety or environmental health. Many Navajo miners toiled unprotected, inhaling radioactive dust and drinking contaminated water. Navajo Nation has since been plagued with cancers and chronic illnesses.
Clint Black worked underground in the VCA mine for 22 years. Today, he has nodular fibrosis, a scarring of the lung caused by exposure to uranium dust.
Even decades after mining ended, over 500 abandoned mines and polluted sites continue to poison the land and water. Federal nuclear testing in nearby regions likewise exposed entire communities to radioactive fallout. While programs like the Radiation Exposure Compensation Act offered some aid, they're only a small step in addressing the profound generational harm.
While the wheels of the bureaucracy turn slowly in their efforts to solve many of these problems, people continue to be exposed to the dangers of uranium.
All right, y'all, we're going to stop right there, man. If y'all know what to do, go check the channel out. We are dealing with some difficulties right now with our system, but we're going to get on that as soon as possible. But another thing, if you don't feel like you have to have any part of history or what went down and things of that nature, and I'm talking about to the point where you actually being out there and being active type of parts of history, you can always be knowledgeable. I feel like being knowledgeable is very simple and it keeps you on the loop of things without you having to be out there trying to change stuff. But you understand what's going on.
Right. It just helps me to understand countries better, honestly.
Yeah.
All right, y'all. We hope you guys enjoy this video with us. Be sure to subscribe. We'll see you soon.
Peace.